Good afternoon. Welcome to our legume and grain demo this afternoon. We have a lot of ground to cover. This is a huge subject with so many different varieties of legumes and grains and so many different methods of cooking that we could do this every day for the next 3 weeks and still not get a good grasp of it. So please make sure you do your reading and make sure you look at the PowerPoints and all the links, because there's a lot to cover here. Today we are going to make a barley rice, and I got a little bit of wild rice as well, pilaf. This is simple. We cook it in the classic pilaf method, but we cook it for a little longer and we add more liquid to it because the barley and the rice are unmilled in the form of like the white rice cooks very fast. The brown rice takes about twice as long to cook, and so does the barley, and so does that wild rice. So it's probably going to be 40-45 minutes for that to cook. We're going to start with that this afternoon, and then we'll move on to our next dish, which is called chana aloo gobi masala. And I think anybody who's eaten at an Indian restaurant has probably had it. It's a delicious curried potato, cauliflower, and chickpea stew, and it's quite wonderful. And we're going to make that. And then we're going to finish up today with a hoppinjon, which is a classic low country side dish, very much used around the holidays, Christmas and New Year's. It's supposed to be good luck. It dates back, first notice of it in a cookbook was in the early to mid 1800s. However, for hundreds of years before then, it was from the earliest slaves arriving from West Africa. They were cooking the black-eyed peas and serving them with pork and with rice. A lot of the plantation farmers were not familiar with that kind of climate, the heat and the mugginess and what would grow there. But the slaves that they had hijacked from West Africa were very familiar with rice and with some of these legumes, and they brought those skills with them, and they blessed the country with a lot of these skills, these mixtures that we still use today. And if you go to a New Year's celebration in the Low Country in the Carolinas, there's almost certainly going to be hoppinjon. It is absolutely classic. So we'll get started with our pilaf. We're going to put our stock on. We're using stock. You could use water, but we're going to use stock, and we're going to put that on to just get a little bit of heat in it, because with everything else, as all our pilafs, we don't want to start those grains expanding and warming and then add ice cold liquid to them. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to add a little bit of veggies and such in some olive oil and butter blend. The olive oil will help increase the burn temp on the butter, so we don't use just straight butter because we may end up with it burned. But we will add some onion, some celery, and some little flecks of pickled red pepper, and we will get those started, and then we will pop in the grains to warm them. So all these things take quite a while to prepare, and they all go beautifully with rice. This one actually has the rice in it, but the hoppinjon and the curry are both very much, rice is just a vehicle for great food, really. So get that started. Now these pilafs are incredibly versatile. Something like this can be used just as a side dish, but you could dress it up with a little saffron and some shrimp and turn it into a beautiful entree, or dress it up with some portobello mushrooms and a handful of Parmesan cheese and turn it into an entree. They lend themselves very well to all sorts of formats. So it depends on what you are actually doing with your meal, and you can transform these so that they feel like they really belong. Now we're going to add salt and pepper to this because It is a peel-off. It's not getting a heavily salted boiling water. And you're just going to mix that up together, get everything so that it's covered nicely with that butter oil blend, and let it start to warm. You'll start to smell the grains as they start to heat. They get that kind of that nutty aroma. People often mistake the word peel-off with rice to mean that it is an actual dish that you can buy in a box from Uncle Ben. But peel-off is the method of cooking. It's not the name of a particular dish per se. Okay, you can see those are starting to change color just a little bit, starting to lighten up a bit. And so we're going to add some liquid to this. The stock is warm, it's not hot. You can hear it hit. Give that a quick stir. We're going to let it come up to a boil, then we're going to drop it to a simmer. I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. And as soon as that is up in the boil, we're going to push it to the back and we're going to let it work on a low heat with a lid. And then we'll move on to our gorgeous curry dish. It's got a lot of components, and so it takes a little bit of prep time, but it's well worth it. And it's thrifty, and once again, if we use vegetable stock instead of chicken stock, this is another great vegetarian vegan option. So with as many people as we have now who are so health conscious and so environment conscious, we all have to be really aware of options for our guests that are not laden with meat. That's just coming up to a boil now. So we are going to drop that. And then we're going to come it to the back and just let it do its work. Two-part preparation. So we're going to put some butter and olive oil in both of them, in the sauté pan and in the pot. I'm going to start the potatoes and the cauliflower in that pot and start to get them just a little bit browned. So we're going to want to make sure the potatoes and the cauliflower are similar in size. And so we break our cauliflower up, we core it, and then we break it into acceptable sized pieces. We are using fingerling potatoes, which are beautiful, and they will not have to be cut because they're already a great size. So, but we're going to just break these up into pretty much bite-sized pieces. Any pieces of core you can leave out. There we go. And then these go in that pot. And we will get these started while we start making the actual sauce in the saute pan. Now, those will take a little while to do. You're probably going to have 7 or 8 minutes into them before they start to really take on a bit of color. And that's about where you want them, is when they're starting to just get golden on the edges, because the goal is to start their cooking process before we add the sauce to it. So now with the sauce, we are going to start with onion. and some garlic. And then we have some bell peppers. And we have, today we have some serrano peppers. You can use jalapenos, you can go as light or as spicy as you like, but a little bite of other peppers is very, very nice. So we're going to add our pepper mixtures. Once our saute pan gets warmed up there, and we're starting to get some real action on the veggies, we're going to put in a very nice blend of spices. We have cumin, we have turmeric, we have coriander, we have garam masala, we have a lovely blend of spices to go in there and help bring our flavors together. And when you're using dry spices like that with your curries, you always want to bring them up in a saute pan. You want to keep them in the pan and push that flavor out. Just dumping a teaspoon in your sauce is not going to give you that full flavor that you want. This is just starting. You can see some of the cauliflower and stuff is just starting to get some golden on the edges. So we're getting close there. Because once we have this sauce all put together, then we just pour it over the top, put the lid on it, and push it back to simmer right beside the pilaf. So we're going to add a little bit of, we're going to do ginger first, and then we're going to add a little bit of tomato. Now this is ground ginger, but you could grate or shred whatever you've got at home. And a little bit of sesame seed. A little bit of chili paste or sriracha or something with a bit of a bite. Now, if you were here, you could smell those spices working in the saute. They really start to emit a lovely aroma. There. So we're going to add our tomato now. Then we're going to grab our stock. We're going to do that one little last turn. You give just a little stock to the bottom of that. And then give a little stock to that. And then we're going to stir in our chickpeas, our garbanzo. And for this recipe, you can use either the dried ones, if you've redone them, if you've reconstituted them, soak them or use them, or you can use the canned. Just make sure you drain them. You're going to bring those up to temp. And then we're going to combine the two. I'll put them on the back element there and let them simmer. And then we'll get on to our popping jar, because that's kind of fun. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we're going to just move this over and spread it across the top. See, and then that just works for probably 35 or 40 minutes. A lid on that. I just want a chance to get all the flavors to marry. Last but not least, we have our Hoppin' John. And with our Hoppin' John, we are going to add a little bit of oil. Bacon grease works really well if you made lardon, which I did. We've got some pork hock meat that we've cleaned off a pork hock, and we've got some bacons cut and prepared as lardon. So we'll use those, and we're going to saute up our vegetables with some garlic, and then we'll add our pork and our pork, a little bit of stock, and our black-eyed peas. Black-eyed peas originated in Africa, so they are not a domestic American bean like a pinto bean or an Appaloosa bean. They are an African bean. So, a lot of history in food. So much history in food. It's quite fabulous. Now this has a lot of thyme in it. They use a lot of thyme in the South. We're going to dump a bit of thyme in there. We're going to give it a bay leaf. We're going to put the bay leaf into the stock so that it goes in when everything is wet and doesn't break up. Get fired. There's one. And we're going to use some Cajun seasoning in here, some kind of a bright Cajun or Creole seasoning is kind of what we're looking for. These also, you can put whatever degree of spiciness in your peppers you like in Hoppin' John. Once again, we have some serranos, but just about anything works well depending on your desired level of kick. about 20, 25 minutes. Work. So, without peel off, I believe we should add some mushrooms that we're sorted here. Like I say, even a handful of Parmesan or some seafood, it all goes beautifully in there. I always try to do is keep rice on deck, because rice has such versatility and it certainly fills a void if you have a line go dry or if you're just looking for something for a special. So I always try to keep rice on deck. Garnish this with just a little bit of fresh cilantro. Still out of the garden, not for much longer. Now, if you like, you can treat this rather like a butter chicken and you can add a little dollop of heavy cream, or you can put a little sour cream or yogurt on the top of that. It's also a very nice garnish. So they all work. we're going to garnish with a little bit of diced green onion, scallion, and a little bit of chopped parsley, also fresh. And that kind of has it. So that is our legume grain demo for this week. I really appreciate you coming. Please watch all the links and all the things that you can on Canvas, because there's, like I said before, huge amount of information. One of our questions that I'd like you to text or email me: why are grains and legumes such an important food source combined in emerging countries? Name 5 different varieties of rice that we have. I've got some actually over there. And what do we mean when we refer to something as an ancient grain? And name some of the ancient grains that we work with in our jobs as professional cooks. So, thank you so much. We will see you next week when we do the other half of starches and do a pasta.